She stepped onto the gravel without a word. Small frame, loose fatigues, hair twisted in a tight braid under a black cap. Behind her glasses, her eyes didn't move, not toward the row of laughing men, not toward the sun cutting hard over the berm. Someone chuckled. Corporal Ryan Bell, Recon 2 tours. He nudged the man beside him with an elbow. That your yoga instructor? Or am I seeing ghosts? More laughter. The kind that fills silence too fast. One leaned against a rifle rack, shaking his head. She kept walking. No hurry. No pause. At the armory window, she gave her ID. The staff sergeant looked twice, said nothing, slid the case forward. The foam was torn. The M82A1 inside wore years like dust. She lifted it, adjusted the sling, turned. The wind caught a strand of hair. She didn't tuck it back. Back straight, boots silent on concrete. She crossed to the bench. The instructors had stopped talking. Eyes followed her, narrow and waiting. The range was long, 950 yards. Steel target, 12 inches across. Trees moved like ghosts on the horizon. Wind pushed left, then backed off. Unsteady. A challenge. Cut to morning gray and quiet. Final round, all others had gone. Results in. One close, some misses. Bell had hit the outer ring. A good shot. Enough to win. Most years. Her turn. She walked slow, held the same rifle. The old case had stayed under her cot for 6 weeks. She'd cleaned the weapon each night. No upgrades, no new optics. The mount still creaked. She reached the line. No spotter, no tablet, no ballistic computer. She pulled a piece of thread from her pocket, held it between fingers. It twisted west. Voices behind her dropped low. No laughter now, just waiting. She went prone, elbows down, shouldered the rifle, breathed once, counted 4 seconds, then again. The crowd grew still. She fired. The crack was sharp, clean. Echoes rolled into trees. Then silence. No hit tone. Just quiet. Then it came. A metallic ring. Then something stranger. The steel target split, clean down the middle. 2 halves sagged open on their brackets. The center was gone. Nobody moved. Bell stared at the steel, his mouth open. One of the instructors leaned in and whispered. She was already walking back. Rifle slung, face empty. The laughter was gone. All that remained was the sound of steel cooling in the wind. Eliza Carter arrived on a Monday. No fanfare, no briefing. Just a name on a clipboard and a sealed folder marked civilian contractor. She walked through the front gate of Fort Claymore with 1 duffel and a long, black case, shoulders squared but loose, like she'd done this part before. She wasn't tall, maybe 5'4". Tan fatigues hung on her frame. Her boots were standard issue, unscuffed but worn at the seams. Hair pulled into a functional knot, no makeup, glasses thin and oval. Her steps made no sound on the concrete. The MP didn't look twice. Her room was bare, single bunk, no roommates, 2 metal lockers, both empty. She unpacked without pause. A shaving kit, a roll of tape, 2 sets of ear protection, a thread spool, and a leather-bound notebook older than anything else in the room. She placed the notebook on the pillow, parallel to the frame. The rest of the day passed in forms and silence. No one asked where she came from. No one offered a tour. The few instructors who saw her badge gave the same look. Civilian. Not a joke, not a threat, just out of place. At the range, her ID got her past the armory door. The tech handed over her assigned rifle. Barrett M82A1 worn, reworked, borderline obsolete. No reaction from her. She broke it down on the spot. Field strip, optics check, bore line. The bolt was clean, the trigger pull was heavy. She adjusted nothing. Other candidates filtered through. Larger men, most with jump wings or ranger tabs. Eliza didn't speak. She logged wind shifts in a battered field notebook, scribbled in pencil. Tight, exact writing. Her shots never came first. She waited, always last. Zero chatter. The instructors made notes. One of them, Master Gunnery Sergeant Rivas, asked her a single question during inspection. "You comfortable with this platform?" She nodded once. That was it. At mess, she sat alone, ate slow, refilled her water by hand from the old pump near the south end of the yard. It wasn't closer, just quieter. Her locker stayed locked. When others joked or swapped stories, she wrote, "No one saw her use a phone." Her name wasn't tagged on the range whiteboard. She filed her own reports. No corrections. She ran in the mornings, 5 miles, alone. No headphones. No hesitation. Rain didn't stop her. Neither did heat. She timed her pace off the shadow line of the armory wall. Every evening, she returned to the same bench, broke down the same rifle, cleaned it, oiled it, checked for wear. She didn't complain about the scratches on the scope or the tight cheek weld. She logged every shot, paper targets, steel, full-range simulations. Her spread was tight, always tight. She requested no upgrades. Used only what was issued, her bag never changed shape. Her uniform was always washed. No logos, no patches. Just the standard contractor badge clipped to her belt. She answered to her last name, Carter. No rank, no title. That part didn't matter. No one called her anything but ma'am or miss, and only when they had to. Her father's name wasn't in her file, not on the front page. You had to go deep to find it. Master Sergeant Lucas Carter, KIA. Helmand Province, 2006, 3 confirmed saves during his last deployment. Longest recorded wind-compensated kill of the decade. Marsoc. Retired posthumously with full honors. Eliza had been 10 when they folded the flag. The rifle he used had no name. Neither did the bullet that changed everything. But his habits remained. His daughter kept them. She cleaned her trigger group the same way. Measured elevation drift by eye. Studied range maps until the ink wore through. She didn't speak of him. Didn't correct anyone who thought she was just an engineer. She didn't flash credentials. Didn't reference her work on optic stability or barrel harmonics for the Defense Research Group. She showed up. She executed. The other candidates stopped inviting her to lunch after day 3. Not out of cruelty. She just didn't say yes. Some mistook her quiet for nerves, others for arrogance. Nobody guessed discipline. Nobody thought about what kind of person volunteers for a special operations. Sniper course without a single deployment under her belt. Nobody asked why. But the instructors watched, in between drills, during admin hours. She never lost track of gear, never submitted a report late. Her rounds were always counted, her brass collected, her logs meticulous. Her hands didn't shake, not when the wind changed, not when the shots missed. Not when the sky turned ugly and the sand came in sideways. She blinked less than most, and she never flinched at the sound. It was Rivas who first noticed. He called her methodical, not fast, not flashy, but exact. She adjusted for wind without glancing at the gauges. Held breath in 4 counts, fired on pause. No one said she didn't belong, but no one said she did. By the 2nd week, the instructors stopped testing her patience. They started watching her mechanics, her finger placement, her resting posture, the way she pulled the bolt back after every round, not because she had to, but because her father had once said it reset the rhythm. Instructors who thought she'd wash out marked her page again, and watched again. Eliza never smiled, never frowned. She listened. She moved when ordered, spoke when spoken to, a civilian by designation, a sniper by process. She never asked how long the course lasted. She already knew. She'd read the whole schedule, knew the pressure points, knew when gear would fail and who would blame it on wind. She didn't come to prove a point. She came to finish something. A line traced long before this base, long before these faces. A thread held steady in wind, under heavy skies. Fort Claymore waited. It wasn't marked on most maps. Sandwiched between state land and a dead mining zone. It rose out of gravel and wind like a mistake the earth never corrected. 4 miles of perimeter fence, no civilian signage, no welcome signs. Just tarmac, concrete, and rust-colored steel. The front gate was double-layered. Razor wire stretched above the checkpoint like thorns. The second barrier, internal, needed biometric clearance. Those who passed wore tabs, ribbons, and scars. No one smiled when they came through. The buildings were utilitarian. No color, no ornament, walls thick, windows small. The main operations center sat bunker-like beside the armory. Beyond it stretched 3 live fire zones, a kill house, and 2 wind tunnels used for drone calibration. Further south, the sniper course range spread out across a dry basin. It ran east to west, long shots only, nothing under 800 meters. Eliza stood near the range gate with her ID in hand. No one approached her. The guard made a note, scanned her badge, and waved her through without eye contact. She moved past instructors who didn't speak. They stood in groups of 2 or 3, arms crossed, earpieces in, cold faces. Most wore multicam, some with tan undershirts. Rank insignias were subdued. Nothing shined. Dust caked the seams of their boots. Their rifles hung from single-point slings, low and locked. Behind them, the others arrived. Men built from deployment and repetition. Shoulders like walls, sleeves rolled high, tattoos faded from desert sun. A few carried pelican cases with custom gear. Others had gloves looped onto chest rigs. Their voices were loud but flat. Eliza carried nothing but the black rifle case. Her uniform was clean. Contractor patches velcroed to her sleeves. Standard boots, no tech gear. Her cap was unbranded. She stopped where the line began. The armory chief met her eyes once, then looked down at his manifest. His tone was flat when he spoke. One assigned weapon, M82A1, serial matched. She nodded. He handed her a case with one missing latch. The foam was torn. Inside, the Barrett was whole but old. Scratches marked the receiver. The bipod legs squeaked when she extended them. The barrel crown was unpolished. She examined the optic. Fixed 10x. Mil-dot reticle, lens clouded, adjustment turret stiff. She said nothing. The chief checked a form, signed off, and turned to the next name. Other candidates eyed her. One leaned close to a buddy and made a comment she didn't catch. Another laughed too loud. She walked past them, found an empty table, laid the case flat and clicked it open. Every part of the range screamed performance: steel targets, high wind towers, laser verification stations, pressure sensors embedded at 300-meter intervals. This wasn't basic. It wasn't even intermediate. It was designed for teams who already survived combat. There were no painted logos, no slogans, no flags. The only banner was inside the chow hall. White letters on gray: accuracy is final. Her bunk was in Building 6, shared with 7 others, all men. No one spoke when she entered. 2 glanced at her badge. 1 looked away. She took the corner rack, unzipped her bag, hung her uniform on a rail and began cleaning her rifle. She did it on a towel, not the floor. Used a bore snake, not a rod. She didn't need a checklist. Each morning, the instructors posted the daily drill in hard copy. No announcements, no calls over intercom. The paper went up at 500. You were expected to read it. No excuses. Day 1 was cold shot assessment. Eliza was last on the list. The others watched as she checked her rifle with nothing but her eyes and a single note in her pocket. When she lay prone, the grass around her didn't move. She exhaled and fired. The spotter called it just outside the bull. No complaints, no do-over. She reset her bolt and stood. At lunch, she sat outside, alone. Her tray was standard: chicken, rice, coffee. She ate in 10 minutes and returned to the range. Maintenance happened after hours. Each shooter broke down their rifle in the main bay. The techs watched but didn't assist. Eliza used the same tools every time. She didn't talk to the others. No small talk, no jokes, no background noise. After 2 days, a second instructor approached her. Gunnery Sergeant Mills. He asked if she needed anything replaced. She shook her head. He said nothing else. Her rifle stayed as it was. She didn't tape the stock or cushion the grip. She marked wind values in shorthand, carried no electronics, refused the offered ballistic tablet. They called her Silent Carter after that. She logged every round, cleaned her brass, noted barrel temperature by feel. Never missed her assigned window, never left early. Each evening, she walked the perimeter before lights out. Not fast, just steady. She carried no weapon, sometimes just her notes. Fort Claymore didn't bend to anyone. It wasn't built for sympathy. It taught through repetition, through exposure, through removal. Eliza stayed anyway, not because she had something to prove, but because something brought her here. Something older than the course, older than protocol. She was the only civilian, the only woman, the only one without a team patch. But she never flinched when the targets moved, never paused when the instructors barked. The base didn't change for her. She changed nothing, and still, she remained. Corporal Kane started small. He watched her for 2 days, then picked his opening. It was on the morning range when she walked to her lane and found her target. Didn't reset. The electronic sensor was blank. No red light, no beep. She raised her hand. The instructor looked away. Kane leaned in from 2 lanes down. That's what happens when the system doesn't recognize you. Must be allergic to civilians. His voice didn't carry far, but the smirk spread fast. She didn't speak. Adjusted her rifle, fired anyway. At lunch, he got louder. Sat at the middle table where the view was clear. Called her the library shooter. Said maybe she'd feel more at home alphabetizing manuals. No one stopped him. The others laughed. Some looked down, but no one spoke. Day 4, someone left her issued ammo under direct sun. The polymer casing softened. 2 rounds were unusable. She switched boxes. Logged it herself. The instructor signed without reading. Her assigned weapon jammed during a full auto drill. She wasn't even on the line. It had been swapped and left in her slot. She cleared the malfunction with a tap rack bang. Logged the fault. No tech reviewed it. Kane started keeping a tally. He made a chart on the whiteboard. Labeled it Miss Carter's performance curve. Drew a downward slope in black marker. Below it, he listed excuses. Wind. Scope. Gravity. Sadness. Every morning, he updated it. The instructors didn't erase it. She didn't look at it either. During dry fire drills, her mat was missing. She shot off gravel. During classroom evals, her name was called twice. Both times. The answer packet they gave her was blank. She filled it anyway. Kane announced bets in the chow hall. Said he was running a pool on when she'd break. Said 5 days was the line. 7 if she was stubborn. One guy asked if that included weekends. Kane said she wouldn't last that long. She kept logging data. Her wind charts grew longer, tighter. The notebooks multiplied. She sharpened her pencils at the end of each day. One stayed tucked into the edge of her sleeve. The barracks grew colder. No one sat near her in briefings. No one trained with her during pair drills. Even her bunk was moved to the far end. She didn't ask. She made the bed the same way. Square corners, flat fold, tight tuck. Kane escalated. He taped a sign on her locker. Reading room. Below it, he pasted a picture of a yoga mat. The tape was pink. No one took it down. She arrived the next morning, opened the locker, took her rifle out, closed it. The sign fell. She left it there. Instructors noticed, but only in passing. This place was designed to strip weakness. Complaints were liabilities. Noise was a risk. Silence was the real scorekeeper. Kane stood at the range table with his group. They reviewed thermal readouts, adjusted wind vectors. He called across the line, asked if she wanted a coloring book to help with ballistics. Said he found one with big letters and unicorns. His guys laughed. One slapped the table. She lifted the scope cover, checked her parallax. The lens clicked once. She adjusted 0 with slow turns. Fired her group. Logged the spread, packed up. That evening, she found her bench taken. Kane sat on it with 2 others, said he was saving it for shooters. Real ones. Not clipboard tourists. She stood still, waited, then moved to a corner of the concrete bay and began stripping the rifle by. The next morning, the mess line was longer. She waited like everyone else. When her turn came, the cook stared at her badge, shrugged, said the list didn't show a dietary allotment. She waited again. 30 minutes later, someone cleared it. She ate in silence. The others watched now, but sideways, not full on. Kane still made jokes, still played loud, but fewer laughed. Some started skipping range time if she was in their lane. Called it superstition, said it was like bad weather. You didn't shoot into a storm. She missed one drill, not by fault. Her name was off the log. No one corrected it. She ran the course anyway. Hit every steal. Time was unofficial, but perfect. That night, Kane made his last bet. Said $10 she'd fail the next precision eval. Said he'd double it if she cried. No one took him up. She wasn't at the table. She was cleaning her rifle in the dark, under a yellow work light. The towel was folded tight. The bolt assembly clicked into place. No wasted motion. She finished just before midnight, packed her tools, logged her round count, walked back through the mud alone. Nobody spoke her name, but every man in that room knew it by then. Kane just said it louder, but it didn't mean he understood it. Not yet. It happened on a Tuesday during wind drift calibration. Mid-morning, overcast. Visibility steady, temperature at 62, pressure stable. A 10-mile crosswind gusting to 14. She adjusted 2 clicks left. Elevation dead on. Barrel warmed after 4 rounds. This was shot 5. The final marker. She exhaled. Fired. No tone. No flash from the receiver. No steel ping. The spotter looked confused. Checked the monitor. Still nothing. She rolled back from the scope, ejected the round, waited. No response from the scoring team. 3 lanes down. Kane smirked. Said the machine didn't lie. Maybe her daddy's ghost forgot to guide this one. His group laughed. Eliza didn't move. She raised her hand. A staff sergeant stepped up, checked the terminal, glanced at the record. Registered as a clean miss. She asked for a visual confirmation. He shook his head once, said the system was final. She nodded, packed her kit, logged her shot, walked off the line. The instructors gathered in the corner tent. They spoke in low tones. She stood 20 feet away. They didn't wave her in. An hour later, her name came over the PA. She was to report to the review room immediately. Bring all personal records. Inside, the lights were bright. A major sat at the desk, flanked by a tech chief and a civilian observer. Her folder was open on the table. Her logbook was stacked beside it. The major tapped a page, said the data didn't match, that the trajectory, velocity, and elevation should have guaranteed a hit. But the system disagreed. Wanted to know how she explained that. She said nothing at first, then pointed out wind readings, barrel harmonics, rifle age, not excuses, details. The chief asked where she learned to calibrate by hand. She said home. The observer made a note. The major leaned back, asked if her calculations were based on theory or just guesswork. They took the logbook, said it would be reviewed for inconsistencies. Her bunk was inspected that night, her notes removed, her locker tagged for audit. She received no replacement materials. No updated assignments. The others noticed. No one asked. At chow, her tray was served late, cold. She sat in the far corner. Kane strolled past and gave her a slow salute. Said even the best guess wrong sometimes, statistically speaking. The instructors gave no feedback, no verdict, just said to continue. Pending review. 2 nights later, she took the long route from latrine to barracks. Darkness across the motor pool. Wind light. She cut near the old hangar. Heard movement beyond the wire. Voices, muffled, sharp. Laughter mixed with the clack of reloading. She crouched near the fence. Saw 4 shadows in the prohibited zone. Rifles up. Tracers loaded. The sharp line of illegal armor-piercing rounds. Strictly banned outside certification drills. 1 shadow turned. Light hit his face. Kane. She watched. Tracked every movement. Counted shots. Listened to commands and then slipped back toward the barracks. Quiet. She wrote a single report. Filed it with the duty officer. No exaggeration. Just facts. No emotion. No suggestion. The report was signed and shelved. The next morning, Kane stood at formation. Same grin. Same swagger. Nothing changed. The staff pulled her from PT. Walked her to the range tent. Sergeant Reynolds read from a slip. Said her accusations were found without merit. That no other witness confirmed activity. That all trainees had signed in at curfew. He called it reckless. Said false reports jeopardized cohesion. He returned her original logbook. Pages missing. Notes shuffled. Ink smudged. Said next incident would mean dismissal. No discussion. She nodded. Back at the firing line, her scope mount was loose, the crosshair misaligned. Her elevation dial spun free. She repaired it by touch. Kane leaned on his bench, said the wind was tricky today. Better use a string. Maybe draw a picture? She loaded 3 rounds, fired each clean, logged the drift. Nobody else spoke. The hall grew colder. Conversations stopped when she entered. Her gear was always last out. The bullet allotments shrank, 1 cartridge missing each day. No one addressed her by name, not even the instructors. She was candidate 0, just a label. She stopped eating in the hall, took rations to the edge of the supply bay, ate off a crate, traded no words. Night drills became tests in silence. She was paired alone, Always. While others ran bounding cover or partner spot checks, she worked solo. One rifle, one light, one target. Kane's crew grew bolder. Smirks turned to whispers. Whispers turned to snorts. The line between banter and message faded. She said nothing. The instructors noted her scores. Consistent, clean. Her 0 never drifted. Her breath stayed locked. But the data carried no weight now. The accusation lived longer than her silence. Her reputation shrank to a shape, a shadow in the hallway. A body on the firing line, no name, no rank, no lineage, she kept showing up. Every drill, every shot, every log entry in ink, and no one believed a thing. Rain fell in sheets, cold, steady, indifferent. The gravel under her boots turned slick, but she didn't slow. Eliza ran along the interior fence line, past the comms bunker, past the motor pool. Her sleeves clung to her arms. Water pooled at her collar. Her fists stayed tight. Floodlights caught her in pieces. Flash, shadow, flash, then gone. Her breath fogged, low and controlled. The base was quiet. Barracks dark. Only the wind moved with her. Each step landed flat, measured. Her pace stayed even. 4 miles behind her. 2 more to go. She cut through the puddles without adjusting stride, turned at the main gate. Head down, shoulders high, past the armory, she picked up the wind shift. South, maybe southeast. Hard to read with the cold cutting across her skin. She didn't check her watch. Time didn't matter. Repetition did. A flash of memory. Her feet bare, grass damp, a wire fence in the distance. Her father crouched beside her, held up a piece of thread, tied it to a pencil. Let it hang. It danced. He pointed. No words. Just his finger. Steady and sure. Back in the present, she cleared the bend behind the mess hall. The kitchen light glowed faint through the fogged window. The cook sat smoking inside. Didn't see her. Her boots hit concrete again. She passed the barracks. No lights in the windows. Everyone else asleep. Dry. Warm. She made the turn near the old helipad. The wind changed. Picked up. Hit her full on. She didn't blink. Pulled her elbows tighter. Shifted her weight forward. Kept moving. The steel stairs behind the control tower rattled in the gust. She didn't look up. Her breathing remained even. 4 seconds in. 4 seconds out. At the half loop. She paused. Not to rest. To listen. Rain against metal. Distant hum of backup generators. A dog barked once across the east fence, then nothing. She touched her jacket pocket. Felt the spool. Still there. Unused. Familiar. She resumed. Past the satellite dish, she hit her 6th mile. Still silent. The path looped her back toward the dorms. Her boots sloshed now. The socks soaked through. She didn't flinch. At the corner of Building 6, her shadow reappeared. Lean. Small. No different than the first day. She ran past it. Her knees ached. Shoulders burned. Left calf tightening. She adjusted nothing. Inside the supply bay, a flicker of movement. Someone rearranged crates. Didn't see her. She didn't slow. Mud clung to her boots now. Thick. Sheavier. The wind pushed harder. She leaned into it. Behind the mechanic's shop, a tool rolled off a table. Metal on metal. She turned her head slightly. Eyes clear. Kept going. She passed the barracks again. Same light. Same silence. Her father again. Younger. Smiling with his eyes. Drawing diagrams in the dirt. Circles. Arrows. Little notes. She copied each one. Pressed her thumb into the chalk lines. In the present, her fingers curled tighter. The chill dug into her knuckles. The next turn came. She didn't break stride. The rifle range loomed ahead. Targets half covered. One light still on near the observation booth. She didn't look toward it. She made her way past the hangar. The wind howled through broken vents. She didn't blink. 7 miles now. The rain hadn't let up. Her jacket hung heavy on her frame. She rounded the last corner, breathed steady. No applause, no clock. Just her breath, her legs, her discipline. She stepped off the path. Walked to the edge of the compound. Stopped beneath the perimeter light. Looked up. Water streamed down her face. She didn't wipe it away. She pulled the spool from her pocket, unwound a length of thread. Let it dangle. Watched it twitch, adjusted its length, watched again. Then reeled it in, turned, walked back to the darkened barracks, alone. Mud trailing behind her, no hesitation, no noise. Just the sound of wet boots against stone, and the wind tracing her path. The line was quiet. Wind moved across the range in sharp bursts. Flags snapped. The final elimination was underway. One target. 950 yards, 12 inches wide. Reinforced steel. One shot per candidate, no second chances. Corporal Kane stood at the ready line. He wore custom gloves. His rifle was matte black, free-floated barrel, upgraded glass. The crowd behind the ropes watched him like a done deal. He settled prone. Checked his bipod. Adjusted cant. Controlled breath. Smooth. The wind tower read 14 miles per hour, gusting to 16. Crosswind left to right. He compensated. Barely. Fired. Impact rang out. The round struck the outer ring, not center, but solid, good enough to win. The crowd clapped. Instructors nodded. Someone muttered he had it locked. Kane stood, gave a small wave, no smile, just confidence. Eliza waited alone at the end of the formation. Last on the list. No one spoke her name. A few glanced. Most looked away. The chief range officer called her forward. She moved without sound. Carried the same rifle. No paint, no mods, the old Barrett, worn sling, scratched scope. She knelt, opened her pouch, pulled out a thread, tied it to a brass rod, held it in front of her. The thread curled softly. She watched, then placed it down, went prone. Her movements were slow, exact. No wasted motion. She locked the bipod, rolled her shoulder under the stock, adjusted the cheek weld, inhaled. The crowd shifted. Some whispered. One snorted. She didn't flinch. She rotated the windage turret 3 clicks. Elevation 1 back, tapped the scope housing, waited. Her finger hovered over the trigger. Major Rowland raised binoculars from the tower. Didn't speak. She fired. The sound hit hard, deep. Echo bounced off the hills. Then nothing. No ping. No flash, no movement. Silence. Someone cleared a throat. Then the target moved. Not backwards. Sideways. The steel split. Right down the center. The halves hung on their bolts, swaying. No one spoke. Major Rowland lowered the binoculars. Kane stared at the target, mouth tight. Hands open. The instructor at lane control muttered. The range stayed still. Eliza stood, slung the rifle, walked back toward the benches. No nod. No fist pump. Just boots on gravel. Steady, cold, precise. Behind her, the wind carried the last echoes of the shot. Nothing else. The steel target still swayed. Both halves, cleanly split, rocked once more before going still. Wind pushed against them. They didn't close. Eliza walked back without looking. Her boots left straight lines in the dust. The rifle hung low. Her hands relaxed. No one stepped in her path. Major Rowland moved first. He came down from the tower, took the stairs 2 at a time, stopped 10 feet from her, said nothing. Looked at the rifle, then at her badge. His eyes paused on her last name. He looked again, then back at the split target. Instructor Mills stood behind him now. Another joined, then Sergeant Rivas. No words, just watching. Rowland nodded once. Sharp. Turned and walked back toward the command tent. Inside, voices rose behind canvas. Not loud. Clipped. Serious. Kane stood off to the side, arms folded, his face tight. He watched her like a question he no longer understood. The others said nothing. One adjusted his sling. Another checked his gloves again. Some avoided eye contact. 15 minutes passed. Then the PA crackled. All candidates report to formation. They lined up. 43 total. Sun breaking through clouds now. The wind lighter. Rowland stepped out with a folder. Read from it without pause. Candidate Eliza Carter. Effective immediately. Accepted into Strategic Precision Division. Full clearance. Assigned rank Civilian Specialist. Tier 1. All privileges as designated. No reaction from Eliza. No shift in her stance. He turned one page. Following review. Corporal Kane Breyer. Found in violation of Article 14. Unauthorized use of restricted munitions. Action recorded. Witnessed. Investigated. Kane didn't speak. The instructors didn't move. Roland closed the folder. Formation dismissed. Some walked away. Others lingered. Eliza turned toward the armory. Steady pace. Same as always. Rivas followed. Caught up beside her. Held her rifle case. She didn't ask. Inside the bay, he handed it to her, then paused, eyes still on her hands. He asked one question. Wind reading technique. Ghost division. She nodded. He blinked once. Monroe. She nodded again. Jesus. That was all he said. He stepped back. Outside. The instructors gathered. Quiet. Nods passed. Nothing more. Kane stood at the far end of the gravel. Still. Jaw set. Hands at his sides. She didn't look at him. Didn't need to. The target still hung open. A line split perfectly down the center. Wind moved through it. Clean. Uninterrupted. Precision left its mark. Not in noise. Not in celebration. Just in what could never be undone. Ceremony at 0700. Dress uniforms lined both sides of the hangar bay. Clean boots, straight backs, no words. Eliza stood at attention in standard issue. Civilian tags, no rank insignia. A folder in her hand, inside, official papers. Signature already signed. Kane approached. No swagger, no grin. He stopped 2 steps from her. Ma'am. His voice barely carried, I owe you. He didn't finish the sentence. She nodded once, barely visible. He stepped back into formation. General Atherton read the citation. First civilian ever inducted into Strategic Precision Division. Qualification Elite Tier. Clearance Full Operational Integration. Title Instructional Officer. Ballistic Stress Doctrine. The steel target was placed behind her. Split center. Its halves locked open. Cameras clicked. A photograph was taken. One image. Nothing posed. A drone caught the view from above. Eliza. The line of troops. The shadow of the target drawn like a scar across the floor. By 1200 the image went live. Dozens of outlets picked it up. By evening, thousands had. By morning, millions. She didn't speak to the press. She didn't appear on screen. The Pentagon released her story in a single article. The one shot that split the silence, her name trended for 48 hours. Women sent letters, men sent questions, recruits signed up. A week later, she stood again. Different base, new designation. Program launch, 60 seats, all filled, rows of candidates in elite fatigues. Snipers, rangers, SEALs, force recon, names with weight, ribbons on their chests. She walked to the podium, plain wood, no microphone. Her notebook in her hand, same as always, same tape on the spine. 6 months ago, I was told I belonged in a yoga studio. Laughter moved across the room. She waited. They were wrong. You'll be judged too. That's not a problem. It's a filter. If you can hold steady while they bet on your failure, you belong here. She paused, looked at no one. Calm isn't just an advantage, it's the edge. They waited. She said nothing more. After, she stayed behind. Candidates filtered out. Kane approached. Again, no one else nearby. I was wrong. She didn't respond. He glanced at the notebook. Everything they said to break you. You used it, somehow. She looked up at him. Just once. Not revenge. Just fuel. He nodded. His mouth set tight. Then he left. She walked to the range alone that night. Same thread, same method, wind steady, no gusts. She didn't fire. She just sat, notebook open, not to read, just to hold. Her father's notes. Margins worn. She traced one line with her thumb. Not a quote, just data. Elevation, pressure, wind angle, science, but full of voice. Not loud, not proud, just right. That night, the hangar lights shut off at 2300. She didn't move. No ceremony, no applause. The steel target stood across the field, still split, still open. The sound that broke it hadn't faded. It just echoed differently now. Quiet, precise, permanent.